This is the Dairy Brothers Tribecast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by waitingfornextyear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dairy.
All right, here we go. Another week of Dairy Brothers Tribecast, a chatter about your Cleveland Indians. Matt and Todd with you on waitingfornextyear.com, and brought to you by our friends at the Center for Advanced Dentistry, our man, Dr. Ben Hornstein. What's going on, everybody? Tribe with a day off here on this Monday as we record. Matt and Todd with you. An eventful week, certainly. Some big-time injuries for the Indians and some trouble there. A big bat finally waking up a little bit. Todd, you were down there yesterday for what we were hoping was a sweep of the Royals. KC battles, man. And so the Indians sit 3.5 back of the Twins. No help from the Tigers. But this week, the Indians will start off in Detroit Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday before going to Tampa Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What's going on, brother?
Living that dream. Tough week. Glad to get out of New York and come home for 3 games. The schedule maker really did a number on this team. You know, I know how hard it is to make a schedule and make it fair for everybody, but you know, when you see the amount of road games, the sheer amount of road games and the tough teams the Indians are playing in this stretch that they are now through, and then they had 2 straight 3-game home homestands where it was 3 games, you know, a 3-game back on the road. It just, I don't understand it, but they looked like a tired team when they left New York, very frustrated and tired, but it was good. They came home, took 2 or 3 from the Royals. Obviously you want to sweep that series, but taking 2 or 3, you know, I guess you'll take. I mean, at this point you got to win every game, but you know, if the Indians take 2 or 3 in every single series the rest of the way, they're going to make the playoffs, I would imagine. So, you know, lots to discuss, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, we'll look at the standings. We'll talk about that. The wild card race between the Indians, Rays, and A's. Certainly the division race isn't done yet with 6 more against Minnesota. But, Todd, we got to start with this, and we'll get into the Bauer stuff and his comments yesterday. Tom Hamilton just shredding him. Franmil Reyes appears to be finally arriving. We'll get into that. Todd left yesterday's game early. We'll get into that. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to discuss here. It was a Sunday. It was Mom's birthday, but you know, this Jose Ramirez injury and obviously breaking the hamate bone in his hand is the big discussion because he's finally heated up. It's been the Jose Ramirez of old since really the All-Star break. He's been on fire. And what does this really mean for the offense? Certainly when you have Puig and you have Reyes now, and it seems like a more consistent Jason Kipnis, and you know, Roberto Perez has been a jewel most of the season, although his bat is not as hot as it was at the start of the year. But Todd, this is a huge loss, and I know they're going to probably platoon and go back and forth with Mike Lester Freeman and Yu Chang. But boy, this is a devastating blow. This one hurts.
The way this season has gone, it has pretty much been when the Indians are playing well, it's because Jose Ramirez is playing well. It's not a coincidence that they played their best baseball when Jose Ramirez turned his season around. It's going to be a huge loss for many reasons. Number 1, he was arguably the hottest bat in the lineup. Number 2, his defense had finally come around along with his offense. Number 3, him being a switch hitter, hitting 5th in between the 2 additions on the team, the big right-handed bats, was obviously a great thing. And lastly, you don't really have a great replacement option. If you lost one of your outfielders, for example, the Indians have a lot of guys that they can plug in that'll be kind of, you know, a similar situation or close to it. You're not going to replace a Jose Ramirez with Mike Freeman and Yu Chang. I will say that yesterday Chang looked pretty good. I know it was 1 game, but he has that right-handed power that, you know, we've heard about. He took that one high off the wall yesterday for a triple, had his first 2 major league hits, made a couple of nice plays in the field. And Freeman has been a nice surprise done a nice job as a utility man. My worry with him is the more he plays and the more he gets exposed, the worse he might look. It's the old, I go back to the 10 years ago or so, Shelley Duncan. You remember Shelley Duncan?
The dunk tank?
Yes, he was great when he was the right-handed DH facing lefties, and then because the Indians were so bad, he was playing every day, and the more he played, the worse he looked, and he got exposed because he's not a starting player.
He was so bad. Let's be honest.
But he was the guy I always use that excuse for. But hopefully, they can somehow weather this storm and get into the playoffs. I think it's the way the schedule is, and without Jose Ramirez, it's going to be a really, really tough task to win the division. I still think that they can get to the wild card and will, but it's going to be a really, really tough ask to beat the Twins when you don't have, your hottest bat in the lineup, and the fact that when you look at their schedule, I think it's the last 12 games are all Royals, Tigers, and White Sox, whereas the Indians have the Phillies and the Nationals, who are both playing all the way till the end.
Isn't it the Twins? I think the Twins have like 9 games with Kansas City or something like that, and the Indians are done with the Royals. Done.
Yes, we have no more Kansas City left after. It's over. I was there after yesterday. Yeah,
I will say this though about Kansas City, and I know I was kind of damning Yosted and the Royals a couple weeks ago for not helping the Indians out, but Tom Hamilton points this out a lot when I'm listening. Kansas City plays hard every game. Like they don't mail games in. They're not half-assing it like certain other teams in the division. I know the White Sox went through a stretch where the guys looked hapless. Tigers have had those moments too, where a Miggy gets ejected, Gardner gets ejected, and then the game's over. Royals play you every out. They play all 27 outs till it's over, and the top of that lineup. And I don't know if Mondesi's coming back or not, but they're going to be better quicker than we think. Their pitching's terrible, but their lineup, when you talk about Soler and Dozier and Merrifield's a bitch to deal with, and Gordon, and like I said, once they get Mondesi healthy, they're not terrible.
That Soler bomb off of Whitgren yesterday was, I haven't seen many balls hit that far in that stadium ever. I mean, it's about 3 rows from the top of the bleachers. I mean, that was a no doubter. So they got some nice young pieces, but the bottom line here is other guys are going to have to step up in the absence of Jose Ramirez, and one of those guys, and he did it yesterday in his first game, was Ramirez. Great to see him have the 2 homers, including that big 3-run bomb to tie the game off Ian Kennedy, and then he's got to get going. He had a nice series this weekend, but he really has to get going, and it was nice to see him. Yesterday felt like his really first welcome to the team kind of moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, it was. Rapping Franny.
Fruity nutcake.
There's some Stern reference for you there, but let's call it what it is here. He had been kind of, in New York, ironically enough, where Benji Bronk was sent packing to another room. Franmil Reyes was basically sent packing to the bench for 3 straight games against the Mets. You pointed out on Twitter one night, could it have been so bad for Tito to put him in the field? I think they're terrified to put him in the outfield because he was a butcher and he doesn't really move all that well. But he even admitted yesterday, look, I was relegated to pinch hitting duty for 3 straight games. We lost all those games. I watched a ton of video. This is a kid that gets it. Like he said, yesterday's home run was like one of the greatest moments of his life, not just playing baseball, because of what it meant in the game and tying the game, and he's in this pennant race. And that's the kind of energy that he's going to have because that's what Jose brings every night, whether he's messing with guys in the dugout, whether he's running around the bases, losing his helmet. Guys feed off that. And Lindor looks a little flat right now. I think he's tired. This day off today hopefully will be good for him. Before they come to Detroit, Jose's always notoriously killed the ball at Comerica Park and has killed the Tigers, so that'll hurt. But like you said, Todd, I mean, the thing I worry about with Chang is his defense at third. Yesterday, he made the right play on that play to Plawecki, where Plawecki just threw the ball away.
I totally forgot about that. That cost the Indians a run, too.
Oh, yeah. No, yesterday was a sloppy game.
It turned out to be. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, no, yesterday was more of a sloppy affair for the Indians than usual. But the amount of games that they've played in a row here, and then, like you talked about, the Thursday night game where it was delayed twice by rain, and then they finally called it, and the guys didn't get home till 4 a.m. And I know people, on social media, oh, these are millionaires, suck it up and play. No, it throws your whole body clock off, man. And because of television and because the league caters to the Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Cubs, like that, to me, it's the right thing to do. Detroit's doing it this week. The Indians got to go to Tampa and play Friday night. So they're playing a day game on Thursday. But when the Yankees are out west or the Yankees are off and the Mets are in prime time playing at 7, the Mets are going to play at 7 no matter what the opponent's doing the next day. And it's bullshit. That should have been a day game, but that's how TV and numbers and everything else works. And, I'm with you on Reyes. Boy, when he hits him, boy, man, oh man, does he hit him. I mean, that second one was just an absolute moonshot.
It was gone to Souvenir City, I believe, if memory serves me correctly.
He was Johnny on the spot. Oh, baby. He was Johnny on the spot.
That was good. No, but
thanks, Al.
It was great to see him going, to get going, and they're going to need it. They are, and Puig is going to have to continue to to hit the ball and continue to play his great defense. But everybody's going to have to pick it up. Other than Frankie, I don't think there's a guy that the Indians could have lost that it would have meant more. It's just a really, really tough loss at a tough time. And it feels like the Indians continue to be snake bitten since even during 2016, going down the stretch. I was there when Carrasco took the ball off of his hand and Danny Salazar got hurt. And then you had the Michael Brantley injury in 2017 where he didn't play the last month, and then they had to, get him a couple of at-bats just to get him right, potentially to play in the playoffs. They added him to the playoff roster, and they shouldn't, they shouldn't have, but they needed to. And then Edwin got hurt. It just seems to be like every year there's some sort of major injury to this club. You go back to obviously, during this Tito era, it's been brutal, but it's just something else they're going to have to overcome. And if anybody can do it, it's this team. They seem to, every time you seem to have them dead and buried, not you, but anytime people have them dead and buried, they seem to find a way. So, let's keep doing what we're doing. Scoreboard, a lot of scoreboard watching with the A's and the Rays.
I'm enjoying it. I really am.
Me too. It's like every night now we're watching 4 games between the A's, the Rays, the Indians, and the Twins.
I mean, Tampa Bay destroys Baltimore the first 2 games of that 4-game series this weekend, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, can the Orioles just win 1? And they end up winning 2. So that's a good thing, and that'll be a huge series this weekend with the Indians and Rays. Charlie Morton will pitch on Sunday. Tampa's got to go to Houston first and play them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that'll
hopefully they wear them out. But to your point, I don't think anybody is playing all that great. I mean, if you look at it, the White Sox took 2 or 3 from the Twins this past week. So the Twins are trying to let the Indians back into this. They could be 5-6 games clear of the Indians now, and these games are still going to matter when they play those back-to-back weekend series, one in Minneapolis, and one here, September 6th and September 13th. So.
Yeah, no, Minnesota.
Should be fun.
Yeah, Minnesota's starting pitching, and again, I think the Twins still 1 through 9, and now especially with J-Ram out, have the better lineup. Crone went deep again yesterday against the Tigers, and he's over 20 home runs. Minnesota's good. They're real good, and they're deep. A guy like Jake Cave is making plays, and they've got depth all over the place. Arise is just a freak out there. But their starting pitching's getting shaky. Odorizzi's getting hit around a little bit. Kyle Gibson's ERA is creeping up to 5 now, getting close. He's starting to lose it. So that's where the Indians, especially, if these young guys continue to pitch like they are, and I'll be there Wednesday night to see Savali pitch against Zimmerman. Nice signing there.
The one guy you didn't mention in there was Jose Barrios, who right now is pitching in the middle of his worst stretch of his career. I mean,
he'll get out of it though. He's a stud.
I agree with you, but take a look at his last. Let's go back this month, okay, to his August starts. This last week, 5 1/3, 10 hits, 5 earned runs against the Tigers. Previous start, 4 1/3, 7 runs, only 3 earned. but only went 4 1/3 against the Rangers. Tribe on August 11th scored 3 and 6 off of them. In the previous start against the Braves, 5 2/3, 9 earned runs. So he has gotten really, really lit up pretty hard in his last 4 starts in August. And, I don't think he's ever thrown this many innings. He's starting to wear down. So, that's certainly something to watch when their ace is getting lit up like this.
It's a great point. And we've always said it. The Indians' starting staff and bullpen is better than the Twins. And if that's what's going to help this team get over the top and get the division, that'd be great. Again, the schedule hurts for sure. Like you mentioned with Philly and Washington, and we're done with the Royals, and they've got, I think it's 7. I don't know if it's 7 or 9 left against Kansas City. That's obviously an advantage for Minnesota. All right, yesterday, Dairy Brothers Tribecast, by the way, Matt and Todd with you on a Monday off day. Tigers and the Indians for 3 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday down at Comerica National Park. Tell me about yesterday's game. So it's 8-3. You are there, and you decide you've had enough. Is that correct?
Well, it was the 8th inning, and it was 5-3. It was 5. After the 2-run homer that so I don't think has landed yet, that Soler hit off of Nick Whitgren, and they brought in the great Phil Maton.
Phil,
and he started walking guys and putting guys on base. And, he got then they brought in Hunter Wood, who entered the game and with the bases loaded and gave up a hit. And all of a sudden it's 8-3. It's the 8th inning. And you know what? I was out. I'm sorry. You know what? If they were down 5 runs in the 8th inning, they only had to that point 4 hits, 2 by Yu Chang and 2 by Kevin Plawecki. Nobody else had done anything.
Hey, so you're not a real fan because you didn't stay till the end. I'm sure you got that from some people.
Whatever, man. You know what? Yesterday was my 41st game of the season. Okay,
41
shit for leaving. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Anyone want to give me shit for leaving down 8-3 in the 8th inning? I'm sorry, that's fine.
But okay? No, but seriously, what is the rule? What is the etiquette? Because I know there are some people listening here. And by the way, shout out to Kevin, one of our listeners, who came up to you at the
yes
at Progressive Field
Friday
the other day.
Night. But yes, that was my first encounter with somebody saying, "Hey, love the podcast." It was super nice. Kevin told me he and his twin brother they talk about the tribe like you and I do. So he really relates. So it was very cool, and I really appreciated it. But
there's listeners and people on board going, I don't leave a game early. I stay to the end. And I've been to games where we've left or I've left or whatever, and you just see people like almost scowling at you like you can't leave. Like who says that you're not a real fan if you don't stay till the bitter end?
Well, anybody who says that is an idiot. Okay, because I'm a real fan. I didn't stay to the end. My take on it is always this: if it's a save situation. So-called safe situation, so a 3-run deficit or so, and I usually gauge it by that. Like if it was still 5-3, I was not leaving that game. You know what I mean? If it was 6-3, I probably wouldn't have left. It was the Royals and Ian Kennedy, but if the Indians are playing the Yankees and it's 6-3 and Aroldis Chapman's on the mound, I feel differently than when it's 6-3 and Ian Kennedy's on the mound. I'd still stay for that though. Any game in a safe situation, I would stay till the end, weather permitted, or if the game is all of a sudden, it's 11:30 on a weeknight or something, and I got to get up for work and get the kids up. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I get it.
And I would never leave a playoff game early under any circumstances, ever. All you got to do is go to those people who probably. Although I take it back, I left last year. Game 3, we were down 10-3.
Yeah, it was over. It was like a cemetery.
I left that one early, so I will step back from that statement. That was an ass whooping, and we were about to get swept. I didn't need to see that.
I think it was 2017. The Indians clinched the division against the Tigers on a Tuesday night
in Detroit. Yes, because we're giving you tons of shit for not being there.
Right, Cody Allen, Cade, Cameron Maben to end it. Okay.
Yes.
So. I get offered. I have tickets for Wednesday's game. The wood shop seats. I'm in the 4th row for Wednesday. So I was going Wednesday no matter what. And then I get offered tickets. My buddy Chucky B, hits me up. He goes, "You want the tickets for tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh, gosh. Can I go 2 nights in a row?" And for people that don't know, I live in the northeast suburbs of Detroit, so I'm not that close to Comerica Park. It's kind of a hike. So it was 2 tickets. Wife couldn't go. Probably would have taken AJ to the game, and I declined, only to miss them clinching. But I go the next night, and if you recall, that night we played like all scrubs. It was like Eric Gonzalez and
of course, it's the clinch. They always play everybody.
Brandon Barnes. It was all these guys. Like, we played nobody. So it was like 9-1. We lost. So it's like the 7th inning. We were down 9-1 in that game, and we ended up going to that game. I start walking out of there because it was over. But and these guys, and Tiger fans are usually pretty good to me. But one guy was like, "Where you go, Tribe fan? Where you going?" I'm like, "Where am I going? It's 9-1 in the 8th inning." "Oh, come on, man." I'm like, "We clinched last night. You suck. Goodbye. I'm leaving." So there is that sense of, there are some fans that believe they've got to stay from start to finish. I get it, but I'm sure yesterday I'm sure you wished you hadn't left, but at least you're honest about it.
Well, now that they ended up losing, it was fine. But yes, I would have liked to have been in the stadium to see Fran Meal crush that bomb. So, hey, listen, you live and learn. The older you get, the less, I don't know, fanatic you are, I guess you could say, in those situations. But, as our father used to tell us, when there was a big lead in a game and we would leave early and we would ask him why, whether it be a Browns game or an Indians game, his response was always
or Cavs at the Coliseum.
Or Cavs. His stock line was, "You don't want to be here when we blow it." So I can tell this story now. I'm sure I've told it to you, and I've told it to many people, but I think it was 2001. Butch Davis was coaching the Browns at the time.
Oh, God.
The Browns played the Bears in Soldier Field. I went with Ags. I went with all these Cleveland guys. Ags and I went. Had the great Hal Tolan was driving us in one car. Melch, we had the Schneider. We had a huge.
It was the Beechwood crew.
Matt Frankel. Yes. We had the great crew. It was awesome. I think KC was there. I mean, I'm telling you, it was great. So we all go. I'm sitting with Ags. It's great. Browns are up 21-7 with like 3 minutes to go. And we start leaving. And as we walk out, I see Scott Kahlberg and Danny Borstein, who are kids we grew up with. And they're yelling, "Yo, where are you going? Where are you going?" And I turned around and I said, "You know what my father always used to say? You don't want to be here when we blow it." So we walk out of the stadium. And for those who don't remember this game, Shane Matthews was quarterback of the Bears. The Bears scored a touchdown with like 30 seconds to go, 21-14, recover an onside kick, Hail Mary into the end zone, touchdown to force overtime, and on the first play of overtime...
Mike Brown or something? Pick six?
Off of the helmet, Mike Brown, pick six, Brown losing overtime. It was one of the worst it's probably the worst Browns loss of the last 20 years. I mean, it was terrible. It was like worse besides that Steeler playoff loss.
I will say this about going to Soldier Field. I know we're off on some weird tangent right now, but
yes.
When they scored touchdowns and they played Bear Down Chicago Bears with that T formation, what a great song. That's a solid song.
That's right up there with Forward Down the Field.
Gridiron Heroes? Yeah, there you go.
No one loves that more than executive producer Jeremy. But anyways, the moral of the story is this. 6 months later, I ran into one of those two guys, and they were like, "We will never forget we've been dying to see you. We will never forget what you told us walking out of that stadium."
Yeah, you were right.
The point is, and Dad was right, only bad things can happen at that point. So when you're up with a big lead like that, who needs to stay till the end? Please, like if it's a one-run game and you want to see it close, I mean, like I never leave close Indians games. No, of course not. Friday night, Brooke and I were there till the end, saw Brad Hand get the save. Of course. But I'm not, if it's 10-1, I don't need to be there.
Well, here's the other thing, and you didn't even mention this. All right, it's Mom's birthday last night.
Yes, it was, and Albert Bell.
You're going home back to the homestead, picking up you were with Andrew yesterday?
Yesterday was Brooke.
Yeah. Oh, Brooke, that's right, because we talked to Andrew on the phone Friday. So you got to pick up your son, your wife. You got to go back downtown for dinner. I mean, you had a lot going on.
Well, listen, Mom, I do what Mom wants on her birthday.
Sure. Dairy Brothers Tribecast brought to you by our friends at the Center for Advanced Dentistry. What's up with Ben Hornstein?
What's up with Ben? I mean, he was a texting fool this weekend. He was very upset about J-Ram. But more importantly, he was very upset about J-Ram, but he was very excited about his dental practice and how great they're doing. He continues to be the top dentist on the east side, doing everything that you need, whether it's a teeth cleaning, whether it's a root canal, you name it. They do it over the Center for Advanced Dentistry right there in Orange Place. They have a spectacular crew of people, super nice. Again, I've told you this before, they just are so good at putting you at ease, because I know a lot of people don't like going to the dentist, but it's a really great atmosphere in there. You check them out at cfad.net or at Twitter at CFAD Beechwood. And tell them I sent you. Tell them you're a listener of the podcast, and Dr. Ben will hook you up.
Thanks to the Center for Advanced Dentistry, and certainly, like you mentioned, Ben Hornstein. Tribe back at it tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in Detroit. We'll go over pitching matchups Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Tampa, and what has been kind of a grueling schedule. I'm glad they got the day off today, which is a good thing.
Sorely needed.
All right, so we got Corey Kluber starting in Columbus last week. We were hyping up that if he looked good, you never know, maybe back in the rotation. Now he's got a lat issue, or a what's the word I'm looking for? That wasn't the lat. That was the oblique issue. Carlos Carrasco, Todd, I mean, and especially now that I'm not saying that the Indians' bullpen is blowing up, but this is probably the worst weekend the bullpen has had. If you count Brad Hand's meltdowns in New York, Whitgren gave up some bombs. Really, everybody's been hit a little bit lately except Oliver Perez. Carlos Carrasco, first off, Kluber, is he going to pitch again this year? I don't see it. But Carrasco,
I don't think that there's any possible way you're going to see Kluber this year.
Yeah, but Carrasco now, as being this late inning weapon, has some serious teeth to it, and I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about it. He pitched again. I believe it was Saturday in Columbus. He gave up a run in an inning, but listen, having him as a potential, quote unquote fireman. Bring him. You can bring him in and to face their best right-handed bats, whether it be in the 6th inning, whether it be in the 8th inning, or let's say in the 9th inning, or maybe it ends up being a situation where Carrasco pitches really well when he comes up, and then later in September you kind of do an Andrew Miller, Cody Allen type thing where you're pitching Hand in the 8th. If the key lefties are up in the 8th and you've used Ollie already, you're using Hand there if the right-handed bats are coming up in the 9th. I think there's a lot of potential for greatness there for sure. And I think the Indians are going to need that extra arm. I really do. The rosters are going to expand. We talked about that last week. Otero will be back, but I think, and we talked about this last week too also. Zach Plesac this week, it was Friday night, he pitched, and he was great. But they took him out after 5 1/3. Because, as I've said this many times on this podcast, they want to limit his innings, according to Andre Knott, because he had the Tommy John surgery in college. This is the most innings he's ever pitched in a season. And I think you're going to see, especially with him and Savali and Adam Plutko, you're going to see maybe just 2 times through the order. And then you have someone like Carrasco who could potentially, if he's healthy and ready, 2 innings in the middle there, or an inning in the middle there, or wherever you might use him as a true fireman. So I think there's big potential there. And as for Corey Kluber, you're asking a lot of a guy who now, an oblique injury, by the way, I have suffered a oblique injury before. I can't see how someone who uses his body and torque coming back the way you have to use it, who has not pitched in a game
in months
in the majors since May 1st.
Yeah.
We're just going to throw him out there and expect him to be great. I don't see it. And I think they have enough guys in the bullpen where they don't really need to just throw a untested Corey Kluber on the out there in big spots when every one of these games is going to count.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it's not like we're clinching this division early where we could put Kluber out there in a situation just to test him out. All these games are going to matter going down the stretch. And like you said, if they're limiting Plesac, I don't know. I think they're going to give Kluber every opportunity to see if he can come back. And again, we're not even into September yet. We still got a couple more days. But if you're talking a couple more weeks, and then they get rehab him again, and then he's got to pitch on flat ground, and then he's got to pitch off a mound, you're running out of time here.
You also got to remember the Columbus Clippers season is basically over. They're going to be in the playoffs, but there's not going to be a lot of places for him to. Let's say they said they're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks. So that's another. This injury happened last Sunday in the middle of our taping. So you got another full week, right?
Yeah.
At that point, they're going to reevaluate him. He's not going to start pitching in the game then. So by the time he's actually able to pitch, there's going to be nowhere for him to pitch except for a simulated game. I don't see it happening. I don't. And they have a bevy of guys that they are going to be looking at come September 1st, and that we talked about. I know you'll get Otero back. Hopefully, you'll get Carrasco. I think you'll see Cam Hill, who will come up from Columbus when the playoffs are over, who is really an intriguing arm. I'd love to see Karinchak. I don't know where they're going to go with that. I'd love to see him come up, throw 100.
I think they got to. Why not?
Got to. Cousin Jeffrey is currently rehabbing now. They moved him up to Columbus. He's a guy who, when he's only thrown an inning or two, he can throw, high 90s. He could
be a piggyback guy if they're worried about Plesac's innings that Jeffrey comes in like the fourth or fifth. They have a lot of options, and that's why when I hear people say, "Oh, the Indians are in the wild card spot. Oh, the window's closing." Oh, shut up. This team is loaded with so many arms, and that's still how you win. Yes, eventually maybe Lindor. I don't want to have this discussion now, but eventually some of these people could be gone. Puig next year, whatever it is. But when you have this kind of pitching and young pitching, you're going to be fine for a while. Throw in that Nolan Jones will be up here soon, and maybe this Freeman kid is going to be something special. And Daniel Johnson, Nick.
Tyler Freeman,
right, and
Mike Freeman.
Yeah, right, and Daniel Johnson. There's some guys coming, and here's Mercado. And I know he didn't have a great week with the glove, but there's plenty to like about what's here and what's coming. So whenever I hear that window's closing shit, it just drives me crazy.
Me too. Now, do you want to have a conversation about the Brad Hand covering first, or
we have to? No. We have to.
I didn't know if we were far enough removed, and you didn't want to discuss it.
That was next on my list because obviously the last two appearances for Brad Hand have been much better. So much so that Sports Boy Tony, Anthony Lima, and others tweeting out Hand is back. But the other night, was that Wednesday? Just a devastating loss.
It was Wednesday, yeah.
Just a devastating loss to the Mets. Santana hits the bomb and extras to put the Indians on top, only to see Brad Hand come in and immediately give up a double. And that Mets team is good. That's a magical ride they are on at home right now. I know they kind of had their britches knocked down a bit this weekend, but that's a good Mets team that the Indians played. It was lousy timing, whatever it is. But Brad Hand not covering first on the Conforto chopper to Santana Wednesday, and people saying, well, Carlos should have gone home. To me, if Hand's at the bag, the game's over.
Well, that's correct. If he makes his move to the bag, the game is over. Carlos made the instinctual play. Here's the thing. The manager intentionally walked Pete Alonso to set up the double play. So this whole, he should have come home.
Right. It's not like the bases were loaded. Right. It's not like the bases were loaded.
Come on. Yeah. If you throw them out at home, the bases are still loaded, and you still have to get another out. There was a hard-hit grounder where a double play could have happened, and you set up the double play with the walk. So it was a huge mistake by Brad Hand. You and I talked about this week. I think this was the worst, most painful regular season loss since 2015, where you had the infamous late September Grady Sizemore in Kansas City losing the ball in the sun, and then also that 10th inning loss to the White Sox on the last weekend of the season in 2005, which, everyone remembers the Indians were cruising and playing so well, and all they basically had to do was go about 3 3-6 in their last 9, and they went 1-8 or 2-7 or whatever it was against the Rays and the White Sox. But yeah, I don't know. It was a very frustrating day, a very frustrating game. I was very upset with Brad Hand. But the thing about Hand was and this is the thing where people that after that game were like, they got to get him out of the closer's role.
Oh, God, every closer goes through this. Give me a break.
And if he turns the double play and covers first, nobody's talking about it.
Right, correct.
Yeah, he gave up one hit and then get out of it. So, yeah, Aroldis Chapman struggled mightily in the middle of the season last year for the Yankees.
They actually did take him out of the closer's role for a little while.
They did, but that's because they also had other options. That's the other thing that people don't seem to understand about Brad Hand. You take him out of the closer's role, who are you pitching in the 9th right now?
Probably Nick Whitgren. And he threw batting practice yesterday.
And it's not like Nick Whitgren's ever been a closer. I mean, he was a closer in college at Purdue. But this isn't a guy who's pitching that 9th inning is a different animal. And if you're not used to it, and then you're changing everybody else's roles up, I just think that they're going to have – Tito was right when he said, if we're going to get to the playoffs and we're going to win this thing, we got to get Brad Hand right. And I happen to agree with that. I'm on Team Santana on that play, and I understand they interviewed Roberto after the game, and then Hand didn't throw Carlos under the bus, but he kind of was like, I thought he was going home. Rosario was running on contact. I get it, but that Carlos made the right play because the ball got to Frankie at second, and he looked, and there was a play there. Like you said, that's a one-hop chop off of Conforto's bat. That's not Ricky Henderson or Kenny Lofton running down the line. Conforto can run a little bit, but that's a play you got to make. And I know Hand falls off the mound, and Tito made the comment, well, it's a left-handed pitcher that falls off to the right side of the mound. The minute that ball's hit on the ground, you got to sprint over there. And they do that. They do those fielding plays and PFP and all that in spring training plays just like that. They go over those every day in the spring, in February and March. I don't remember who it was, but someone said this wasn't Mitch Williams wildly falling off when he pitches, and he can't recover. That excuse is lame to me that he's a left-handed pitcher, so he's falling in the wrong direction. Left-handed pitchers have never covered first on double play balls in their lives.
I know. Sprint over there.
It's garbage.
All right, we're going to get to the pitching matchups for the next series. First, though, last thing we got to touch on. So Trevor Bauer was interviewed by Fox Sports Ohio for the Reds broadcast yesterday before he pitched. Then he went out and got bombed by the Pirates. He's been a disaster in Cincinnati so far. But if you guys didn't hear the comments, certainly they're all over Twitter. But Trevor Bauer basically was asked how things were going, and he made some comments about how much happier he is in Cincinnati and how he gets more information there, and he doesn't miss Cleveland. Then he tweeted out that he says he still misses the fans, and he said, I love my city, talking about Cleveland. This guy's got a serious screw loose, and for all the times that you and I both have supported him, I'm pretty much done. I've had enough. He's weird. He's made major mistakes with his mouth, and yesterday was a bad look again for Trevor Bauer. Bad.
I don't think people know the extent or understand to the extent of what this organization did for him in terms of coddling him and his routines and his habits. And, I don't even think he quite understands the kind of preferential treatment and that he got. I thought it was an extremely bad look. He tried to cover it a little bit on a follow-up tweet by saying, hey, I meant no disrespect to the city and my teammates, and I love the city of Cleveland and the fans, and I'll always respect them. Da, da, da. It was clear he was taking shots at the organization, but you know what? How many more times are we going to have to, we're no longer in the business of making excuses for this guy. He's not on our team anymore.
Correct.
Kyrie Irving was always a dick too, but he was a dick on our team, so people rooted for him here. But you told me the night they drafted Kyrie Irving that you had heard he was a nightmare and a diva, and for an 18-year-old kid to have an entourage acting the way he acts, So it's one of these similar situations. It's like, you can take it when it's your team, and now he's out the door and he's talking smack and he wants to say what he wants to say. That's all well and good. He's only hurting himself. I think he forgets that he's going to be a free agent in 2 years. And yes, is he a great pitcher? Sure. But, all these things are going to add up at a certain point. It's ridiculous. I thought it was really, really in poor taste. The organization was so good to him, and I'd like to see another organization be this good to him, because I think that there are a lot more teams out there that wouldn't want to put up with his crap than would.
Yeah, I mean, he put out such a cool tribute video. He's so up and down. Like, he gets traded, and then he holds a press conference. He shows up to the game with a camera crew while the Indians are playing. You're not on the team anymore. He's standing out by the bar out there in right field, the corner. Then he goes up to the press box, and I think the media's like, oh my gosh, like, Bauer's here. We got to go talk to him and get his thoughts on the trade, because he didn't speak the night before as he was being traded. So I'm sure Bart Swain and the Tribe media relations people are like, oh shit, now what do we do? So they grab him. They're like, go into the lunchroom and we'll bring while the game's going on. So that's disrespectful. Then he says all the right things. Then he puts out a video, which he pins on his Twitter, which is a tribute to his time in Cleveland, how much he loved his teammates, how much he loved the fans. It was great. Then that's it. Be done. If Fox Ohio or the Red Sideline people or whoever's going to try to tame you or get you to talk about your past, it's very easy to go, you know what, love my time in Cleveland. I'm a Red now. Everything's going well. Really like what's going on over here. Coaching staff's been great. And, and I'm enjoying my time. That's all you have to say. But to talk about, I don't really miss it there, or there's things I don't miss, then you're opening up another can of worms, and it's just a bad look. And then his ERA is now creeping close to 4.5. Come on, dude. Like, you're not even...
Gave up 7 earned runs yesterday after all that, by the way.
What's he had? 5 starts with the Reds, and 3 of the 5, he hasn't even gone 5 innings? Shut up. Like, enough already. Enough.
Well, here's the thing. He's no longer our problem. And the fact that they somehow got rid of him and ended up getting a guy like Reyes and a guy like Puig in the process, plus Logan Allen, in the middle of the season, when with the excess, with all the baggage attached to him, is a true testament to how great the front office that he badmouths truly is.
No question about it. All right, Tribe and Tigers coming up this week. I'll be there Wednesday night, Todd. Let's hear what your thoughts are on Adam Pletko on Tuesday against Spencer Turnbull. Ooh,
he's actually pretty good. We've hit him hard, but he's actually pretty decent, all things considered.
Wednesday night, Aaron Savali against Jordan Zimmerman. I'll be there Wednesday night. I got to confirm my tickets, by the way. That hasn't happened yet. And Mike Clevenger against Daniel Norris, the Van Man, on Thursday.
You can't facilitate a meeting Thursday afternoon? You know what I mean?
I have a big project.
I heard you might have a meeting at the corner of Mount Calm and Witherell.
I don't.
That's what I used to do. Like,
it's a possibility.
Early on,
I don't see it happening.
One of my previous jobs, one of the previous companies I was working for, I used to have the show calendar, and like, no joke, I'd be like, yeah, I'm meeting with the lawyers, Swisher, Francona, and and Masterson. Or
that's right.
I'm meeting with the firm of Swisher, Masterson, and Francona.
What about Elk and Elk?
Serious lawyers for serious injuries.
That's right. No, a big project right now at the office. So we're I know we're locked and loaded for Wednesday. It'll be, we're now in pennant race time. So this isn't like, hey, let's invite some of the friends, or hey, let's get 4 tickets and see if blah 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 wants to go. My wife knows how to handle me and handle every excruciating pitch down at Comerica Park. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Tiger fans are always good to me when I'm down there because I'm always in Indians gear, and they're very respectful. The ballpark itself is a C-. But we'll be down there on Wednesday and hopefully bring back a dub.
It's very important, and I was talking about this weekend with some people. We got to beat these bad teams. Like, truthfully, you got to sweep the Tigers. You do. I mean, you really should have swept.
50 games under 500. 50.
You have, if the Indians have any shot at winning the division, you have to sweep the Tigers, especially because the Tampa series is going to be a war. And then you got, the Twins twice, two out of three series and coming up, starting Friday, September 6th. It's basically Twins, Angels, and Twins. So you're going to have to – you got to take care of business against these shitty teams. And the Tigers are as bad as it gets.
Oh, they're the worst.
You're in charge of the sweep. Get it done.
They are the worst team in baseball. So there's that, And now the Tigers also feature, their new shortstop is a former Indian, the great Willie Castro. Pilfered away by
What about Ronnie Rodriguez in that grand slam against the Twins this week?
Yeah. What about play it against slam, Ronnie Duncan?
3, 2, 1. I'm done.
One day we'll tell the story of the threatening phone call.
Do you still have that, by the way, the threatening voicemail?
I don't know. That was
Matt Derry.
How many?
Remember that?
Dan McDowell, Matt Derry. Well, I mean, how many years was that? That was 1995.
95, because it was the year that you and I were living at home.
Oh, my gosh. Good times. Good times.
Yes, it was.
By the way, so when we get the Rays on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to miss Yarbrough, that left-hander that's pretty good. Tampa's rotation's a mess. They were starting Alvarado. He's hurt. Blake Snell's out. We'll see
Alvarado was basically the opener.
Yeah.
Tony Chirinos is hurt, too.
Yeah, Charlie Morton will pitch Sunday, so... it'd be nice to go into Tampa and get a couple of games and win those games early because Charlie Morton's really good. And he's pitching tomorrow against Houston, and then he'll pitch Sunday. But other than that, it's going to be a lot of TBDs and, like you said, openers. Yeah. That's the way Tampa's been rolling lately.
Well, they don't have anybody listed as a starter for Friday or Saturday, which is interesting. So they got Morton listed for Sunday. But that team battles. Their second baseman Brandon Lau, who was having a great year. He's out for the year. He's been out for a while now. And
Sogard's there now.
Yes. Kiermaier got hurt yesterday. So I only know this because he's on my fantasy team. But he got hurt yesterday too. But what I'm most curious to see is how many people show up in Tampa for those games. Some monster games, right?
Huge series.
Like, how many fans are they going to get?
Dick Vitale and a few others.
Yeah,
Ray's voice, Dave Willsey.
Willsey,
great guy,
love
great guy.
Yeah,
former
Anderson,
former voice of the.
People.
That's right, Dave Wells, former voice of the UIC Flames, still the greatest road venue in Horizon League history.
No, but seriously, this weekend in Cleveland, great crowds. I went Friday and Sunday. I always judge by how good the crowd's going to be if people are actually sitting in the upper deck in right field facing in, where they basically turned it into, I have no idea what those things are, but there were people up there Friday night and Sunday.
I love it.
And I wasn't there Saturday, but good crowds all weekend, which was good. And you should come out and support this team. They're a winner, and they have been on the road. It's like, I go back. It's so ridiculous. You go back to the August 8th. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 road games and 6 home games. That's tough.
It is crazy.
August.
But we play well on the road. The Indians are pretty. Shane Bieber pitches better on the road. Crazy enough. So we'll see what happens in Detroit and Tampa this week. All right, brother. That was fun.
The pleasure was all mine.
All right, Derry Brothers Tribecast for another week, brought to you by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, Dr. Ben Hornstein. You find us at waitingfornextyear.com. We'll talk to you again next week.